this is really an inside look. Last episode we had Dilip Shah on, and now joined by Lanie and Ashley. Ashley is our quality manager, and Lanie is the vice president of Morehouse. So Ashley's going to talk a little bit about coming from A2LA.
Yep.
About where did she come from and where did she go? So yeah, Ashley has that song stuck in her head. So we're going to work that in as much as we possibly can in this half hour. If you know,
keep it going.
Yeah, she'd been married a long time ago, so that's
that was so perfect.
Amen.
And it's yeah, it's a midwinter storm, so Todd and I can come in or whatever that is. So anyway, yeah, so again, this is really an unfiltered podcast where we just try to give the real scoop on everything and talk, let the world know, what goes on in a metrology laboratory. So with that said, Ashley, I know you came from an AB and now you're at a cab. That's pretty dramatic, eye-awakening experience, is it not?
Oh yeah, definitely different. So I worked at HLA just shy of 15 years in the calibration program department, and it is completely different. It's like I went out into the labs, I did audits, I audited the auditors, and I've seen so many different ways of things, how to address, corrective actions and root causes and, non-conforming work, how to handle recalls, but it never really sticks or matters until you have to actually implement it yourself. And then you start questioning everything, right? You're like, wow, should I do this? Like, is it better to do it this way or is it this way? And then you start really, questioning, like, did I learn anything in the last 15 years, or did I just scoot on by and somehow I don't remember anything? It's like college all over again.
Connecting
so yeah,
the dots,
it's definitely eye-opening. It's definitely eye-opening.
So when you get into the applied part of it, how difficult, like coming to a lab, how difficult is that transition?
Oh, very different. So, like I said, I've seen so many different ways of how you could handle something, and, sitting behind a desk, working with an organization, being like, hey, your corrective action, your root cause doesn't actually tell me why. It really is just a restatement of the deficiency. And it's easy for me behind the desk as an AB to say that, when I'm reading it. But when you're actually in it and you are at the lab now, I'm on the quality side, and I look at deficiencies and, I'm like, well, the cause really is, sometimes it really is just the restatement of the deficiency. We forgot to add, X, Y, and Z into the procedure. Why? We forgot. I mean, sometimes it doesn't get deep. And I think when I worked at H2LA, I previously was like honing in on getting deeper. So sometimes it's just on the surface. Fair.
Right. And we just had an audit with Dilip that came down, and we had 0 deficiencies that he found because we paid him. We're not, using our impartiality clauses. We bribed him. We completely bribed him. Yeah, he was cheap. Yeah, it was a Coca-Cola and a rum, I think, right? And that's for every 2 deficiencies.
He prefers margaritas, but he settled for the rum and Coke.
I paid him in Coke Zeros.
That's what he takes as payment. He still sent us a bill though. I'm shocked at that. And we gave him Coke Zero and took him out to dinner. I can't believe he did that. No, he's one of the most impartial people. We joke about this, but and of course we joked with Dilip about it when he came here too. But it is one of the more serious things is when you go through that audit and have that internal audit. And Ashley's on top of things, and there still are a lot of observations, and there's still a lot of things for improvement on that side of things. And I think
100%.
what did Dilip give us as far as that, like 12 suggestions, or do you remember the total number?
I think it was somewhere between 12 and 15, like opportunities for improvement. So, and definitely, I mean, I wrote down every single one as like, oh, this is a good one. Oh, this is a good one, because Dilip is the king of quality, right? He's going to give me all of the ins and outs and things I didn't think of kind of idea. So
Yeah, he's like the dude. Some ins, some
Somewhat to our
outs.
credit, though, he said they're recommendations really because he felt that we were somewhat overcomplicating or doing things almost more, more complicated than you needed to be. That we're kind of going above and beyond, overachieving once again. Ashley,
Overachieving.
we're trying
Yes,
to.
overachieving.
I try, but no, he did mention, I don't even know if you were in there, Henry. He's like, I feel like I didn't do my job very well because I didn't find any findings. So
I know.
I took that as an absolute comment and praise from Dilip.
Well, we've had findings though on the audit side, and if you correct them, if you keep correcting them, and it's a random sampling. I mean, I'm sure there's still some around. There's always something depending on how you interpret the standard and what you want to do with it, and whether it's an observation or a finding. Especially with NewPick. I mean, what flies for NavLab and A2LA is completely different than what NewPick is, and when you get into safety related and software and all that stuff, that was a painful 4 days on that side of things.
I know, yeah. It's funny because when I worked at A2LA, customers would always they'd mention how audits went to their ACO, like their point of contact, and we built relationships with them. I've made really good friends with some of my customers at A2LA. So I still keep in touch with them, and they would just kind of like shoot the stuff, right? They just wanted to be like, I just had this audit, and so they would always comment on how different 17025 audits were versus NewPick audits. And as sitting through them, I can definitely tell the difference, and I could tell that I don't know the NewPick or the NRC world as well as I do 17025, and they are oddly enough two totally different worlds, even though they're kind of supposed to be based on the same things.
Right.
So,
and there's an argument that says, hey, just take the the commercial accreditation and not have the NewPick audit. Though the NewPick audit is completely different in some regard, as we have 4 people for 4 days. They always schedule 5, but they're always done in 4 because we're smaller. But they go through everything. And sometimes, and a lot of times, they're very good. They even invited Ashley. They liked Ashley so much they invited her out on the road with her. So
I'm hoping they let me out. I hope they let me in, and I should say out in somewhere. Just because I would love to sit in and just observe. I mean, that's how you learn, right? Is you go out, you observe, you see how other people do it, and take back that that feedback and be like, man, we could make this so much better if we just did this little twerk or tweak, not twerk.
Well,
we don't twerk here. We don't twerk here. Just tweaking.
We Ashley does with Cotton Eye Joe. That was what we were talking about earlier. That's what she does.
Twerking to Cotton Eye Joe, right?
Yeah. So how did just getting that song in your head? They want you to. They knew that if you just hum that all day at the internal audit and it would liven. It would liven everything for their. No, but when they find something, like the one finding we had was something that we corrected. Our quality manager did his own internal audit. So after you correct that, and you actually hire people to do the internal audits, and NewPick goes back 3 years, that's one of the tougher ones, right? It's already corrected. In 2021, we messed up. Our quality manager at the time, with all the certifications and everything else, did not understand the difference, and questioning in it was a whole he knows best type scenario. Though, but then you've already corrected. So then you have Craig Gallant, and then we had Dilip come in this year. So it's already corrected, and it's a 3-year look back. So you're going to get the ding we were obviously going to get the ding because you can't go back in time. At least some of us did look over things. We just didn't have the documentation. But with all of this, what I want to say is whenever there's a finding, there's the root cause, there's usually something else or some level of improvement that you can do to make sure and dive a bit deeper into that finding on why. Why was that? And then that goes into maybe our hiring practices, right? Like, who were we hiring 2021? What was the screening? Just because somebody had all the letters behind their name for quality, did that make them qualified? Did we do a good enough analysis? Of course, good looking back, we can say no, right, Lanie?
Right. But
Yeah.
that's the thing that I'm sitting here having a trouble touching on is how bad things were before, and how many conversations we've had about how hard it is to find good quality people, because there's only so many little Dilips in the world. That
Big Dilip.
Getting
Don't
yeah, he is the grand
the grand poobah.
Yeah.
Poopah, right? Or poupon?
Poopah now,
What?
because he's a grandfather.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that?
yeah,
Oh,
he's been a
that's-
grandfather. Yeah, he's
Oh,
got.
and he's fantastic, but yeah, bringing Ashley on board was just such a huge improvement.
Well, thank
Not
you. I
just
know you're
even-
still learning. I mean, every day. It's definitely, I wasn't kidding when I might have been associated with quality and, worked
Don't you
many
think you
years
have to
with
be though?
corrective actions and everything.
Learning.
And then you get into it and you're like, wow, I'm not really sure I know how to do this. So,
But
yeah.
but I mean, don't you think that everybody should be learning every day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think if
Yeah,
you're
because
not,
if you think
you're
you're
not, probably not
complacent
doing it right.
and
Yeah.
yeah, if you're complacent and think you know everything, then it's probably going
You
to
get worried.
end up being a negative. Yeah.
You can know everything for 1 second, as you say.
Don't
"Yeah,
sit
I
still for
finally
too
got
long."
this. Oh crap!
Yeah,
I
it'll
need
be
to
good.
get a lot more.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
Oh, I understand uncertainty now. No.
Oh, no.
No, I don't.
I'm not sure I'll ever make that statement. No, thanks.
No, so yeah, Dilip's depending. He's a babu. I guess it's babu now. The Swahili for grandfather, or what's his native tongue? Maybe a go-go or a wawi. All these are
like you're
words that follow.
Making things up over here.
I'm not making anything up over here.
Go is
He's,
African. That's what my mother
Yeah.
was called by my because they lived in Swaziland.
Yeah, he can write. If he signs, we had the 9 degrees of Dilip Shah that he'll sign in his native language, so you don't know what he's saying to you.
Keep you guessing.
He wrote something on mine. Yeah, I don't know what he wrote. He wrote Kata and I Joe on
Oh,
what do you
no
say?
doubt.
Why- now that song's gonna be in your head. What are
Get
the
it
songs
out.
you have in your
I
head
struggle with
of all
that
the
song. I'm
things?
sorry. I'm still sitting here like
I
know.
know. I don't
I
even
wish
know
we
what
had the
to do in
Macarena
my
in our
head.
head.
I get so on edge.
I wish he had the Macarena in her head, or Bop, or these
I
awesome.
almost want to turn on. I don't
Mambo
want to
number
say her
5.
name. I almost want to turn on
What?
Alexa in a
Yeah.
second, just so I can
Does
get
she not know
something
how to
else
spell?
in
I'm
my
very
head.
concerned now.
I don't
He
think
doesn't.
she can
What-
spell. I don't think she could spell. She didn't say anything, so she must not be able to spell.
We got to get you in the quality mindset. Songs about quality. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think any of them have been a hit. So Paul Simon has one.
Which
I
one?
don't know.
I'm
It's
having
just called
trouble.
Quality by Paul Simon. I don't know the lyrics, but he
I don't know that I'm a fan of Paul Simon, buddy. I don't
really
want to fall
Simon
asleep.
and Garfunkel, Bridge Over
Eh.
Troubled Water. Yeah,
Call
I
Me
don't know.
Al is timeless. Yeah, that's a
Cool.
hill I'll die on, Ashley. I'm sorry.
What is it
What,
called?
the Paul
I'm gonna
Simon
listen
song?
to
Call
it.
Me Al. It's the one where
Call
they
Me
had
Al.
Chevy Chase in the music video.
Oh,
was like my favorite
you
song
could
when I
call
was
me
6 years old.
anything.
It came-
Yeah.
Yeah, baby, when you call me, you can call me Al, or Betty, when you
Yeah.
call me. Yeah, Betty. That's what it was.
Yeah. How about
But yeah,
that
Chevy
song
Chase
then?
in the music video. It was that and Dancing on the Ceiling by Lionel Richie were my jam when I was a 6-year-old.
That's
Oh,
a
that
jam.
one I
Dancing
like.
on the Ceiling.
Yeah, that one I like.
How about when Disturbed comes out with Sound of Silence, and then Simon and Garfunkel do it like 30 years before. So
Yeah.
So
Simon and Garfunkel.
yeah, they did Sound of Silence, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Mrs. Robinson was The Graduate. That's a movie that you have to watch if you haven't seen. It just shows everybody's age. It's really everything to do with quality and audits here is. That's really what we're.
It's a bridge over troubled water, though, Henry. It really
It is. Quality can be that
Well,
bridge
yeah.
over troubled water. Yes.
True.
Back to the right. Yeah, back to the right people. It's
so
difficult
cheesy,
because
it hurts.
it is cheesy, though. It's so difficult. Honestly, it's
Right.
so difficult to find people that want to be in quality. It's the willingness to learn and implement. And a lot of people that that are out there, like you see this awesome persona out there, and you think, oh wow, they have all this, all that. Well, yeah, when we actually brought somebody in that had all that, it was a mess. So
Yeah, it just wasn't a good fit. So
No, it's not a good fit. And then there's different things and different ways to do things, and certain people need to know everything about everything, and that slows you down. If you need to understand ILAC G8 in its entirety, if you need to understand ASTM 74 in its entirety, all these things, it's good to do, though these standards need rewritten. Hey, I was just rewriting our decision rule guidance yesterday. We had some things wrong in it that's now corrected and put on the website. And how many people? I think we probably had like 30 people look at this,
oh
and there
yeah.
were some errors in it. So yeah, you talk about it. I mean, great people looked at it, gave ton of feedback that was implemented and corrected. But some of the stuff that we got into, like with the math equations, there were tiny errors in there where we were. What I corrected yesterday, we were saying for k equals 2, which is 95.45%, and all the examples in the ANSI NCSLI .3 handbook are showing 95%, though they say keep PFA to less than 2%, but 95% lets them go up to 2.5. So on a method 5, subtracting the uncertainty. I know that's boring as can be, though these are like the little things that no one, but we didn't pick up on. And we picked up on it. Actually, the way we picked up on it is when Dilip was at the doing the audit, he said something. And I said, well, that's in Z540.3. And he's looking at Z540.3. And he's like, I thought it was in here. It's not in here. So
I don't know that
you
I knew
remember
it was
that.
always 95.45.
Well, k equals 2 is 95.45, but everybody says report at 95%.
95%.
One
What says approximately,
1.96.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Say not approximately 95% or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people use k equals 2 if you want 90, and then you get into degrees of freedom and all this other stuff. But that's people can go listen to other podcasts for that stuff. We don't have to talk
That's
about
another
this.
podcast, right?
All about, yeah, we'll have the one that, hey, if you're really nerdy and really into math, you can listen to this one. Otherwise, we want to keep it a little more light for everybody. So talk about, working at A2OA, like just some of the fun stuff. I know there were fun stuff. We had the tech exchange. You were part of the MAC.
Mhm. Yep,
So
I was the MAC recording secretary. Oh geez, for like almost the whole time that I had worked there. I think the first year I worked there, I was not. And then the second year they were like, "Hey, take this." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So probably about 14 years, 13, 14 years, I was the MAC recording secretary.
And you got to be there, and I got to be at some of those where people would be. The reason I brought that up because there were a couple arguments where people were arguing aimlessly, and Ted Dorian was there. You remember these?
Oh, I love Ted, yeah.
And then Ted would just stand up. He'd let him go for 5-10 minutes and just blow the hot air. And then Ted would stand up and make a point, and everybody would go, "Oh, yeah, he's right."
And he would do it in the funniest way possible it's almost like that dry humor that just makes me chuckle continuously. But yeah, the great things about A2LA, it was loved building relationships with people like my customers and the assessors. I've become really close friends with the assessors. And, like I said, to this day, I keep in touch with most of them, a good bit of them. Unfortunately, it's, I don't get to talk to them often. It's just kind of when I reach out to that, I kind of think of them or miss them and reach out to them. But yeah, it was a different experience, A2LA. So I had gotten out of college and you're like, what do you want to do with your life? I don't know. And I think I put Career Builder was more of a thing than I could think Indeed at the time. And so I had put my resume on Career Builder and, was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And, I had plans to do like kind of research and development for biology. It was a biology major. So I wanted to do something research and development wise, but you really have to have experience to get in the door. So other than your internship that you do, like, what do you have? You got to start somewhere, but it's like you couldn't do anything. You couldn't like get in. So A2LA reached out to me. It was like, hey, we're looking to hire somebody. Would you like to come interview? And I was like, heck yes. I mean, I love a job. So, I started researching what it was, and I was real confused at first because when you're in college and you talk about laboratories and you're in the lab and you're doing your lab classes, no one talks about quality.
Different, right?
No one talks. Yeah, no one talks about this stuff. Not one person. And my one professor, his lab was awful. You want to talk about housekeeping problems? Oof. And so, you just don't think about that end of, or that part of laboratory work. So did the interview, came back and we're like, hey, we're going to go with someone else that has more experience. I'm like, okay, well then I think like a week or two later, actually Dana Lehman, that is the president of NavLab now.
Yep.
She was going to NavLab. She was leaving A2LA and going to NavLab. And so they called me back and were like, hey, we have a position open. Would you like to, come interview again? And I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. And that's where it started. So it was definitely eye-opening. Something I never thought I would do. And then I ended up really liking it. So
you weren't back when you were listening to NKOTB, New Kids on the Block. For those that don't know, you weren't thinking about the quality profession. Like,
yeah. No, I was not. No.
Which was your favorite? Was it Joey?
Jordan was my
Jordan.
favorite.
Oh yeah, Jordan. That's right.
Mm-hmm. I had the Barbies. I had the bedding. I had the curtains.
It wasn't.
I still have the VHS.
I
have the VHS of Hangin' Tough Live. I think that our next team building exercise can be watching that together. I'm sure we know the dances.
On tour. Yeah.
Yeah, we could go see them.
I think lots of people that would listening would be like, yeah, they're gonna like it. We can bring that back to quality though, Ashley. You know how? Because quality is something you do step by step.
Oh baby.
Oh man. Oh man.
Oh,
that was a good one.
Yeah.
Now that song's gonna be stuck in my head. Thank you.
Well, good. It gets the other one out. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
NKO TV, they're
Please
more
don't
relevant.
go, girl.
They weren't just a one-hit wonder like Wild Cherry, who had play that funky music that we used to listen to all the time. Those guys were funny. I watched a thing on Wild Cherry, and they're like, yeah, first album sold ridiculous, enough to buy a boat, I think they said. Second album sold okay. And third album, I think my grandma bought a copy, and that's about it.
Wild Cherry. I don't even remember who they are.
They have one hit song, Play That Funky Music.
Oh!
Yeah.
Well, heck, I didn't even know who sung that song, but now I know. Wild Cherry.
Yeah, it's the one hit wonders. There's a whole thing on one hit wonders, everything else. So as part of the audit, we bring Dilip in. How it just is talking about the audit. We brought Dilip in.
Yeah.
He went over everything for, roughly, he was here for 4 days.
Yeah.
That versus the random sampling when you have like A2LA come in for, A2LA, when they send somebody in or NavLab or any accreditation, they're doing a random sampling for basically a day and a half, 2 days. They're looking at the documents ahead of time. Though Dilip was rather thorough to be there for 4 days, like scrutinizing everything, trying to find that finding so he would feel like he's earned his keep. I mean, that's what I think he was trying to do.
He definitely tried, and I'm sure he just missed something because we're not perfect. But he definitely was here a little bit longer than any of the other AVs have been here. And he did. He knew we had, Morehouse has been around for a very long time, and we've been accredited for a very long time. So our system is mature. And so, when you're looking at, do you have a policy? Do you have a procedure? We already have that.
Right.
It's already been evaluated numerous times, scrutinized numerous times. It's there. It's really the implementation that is what I think Dilip was looking at and focusing on. And I mean, we need that because we need to see where can we do a better job at implementing X, Y, and Z. We have it. It's written well. It meets the standard. But we just need to implement it right.
Right, and that's the advantage. And you knowing everybody you have, how many people would you say would be, like we were talking about, where you could find internal auditors with Dilip and stuff like that? But in your experience, how many people do you think are really qualified to come in and do an internal audit?
I don't know.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it is tough. I don't know. I mean, I'd say the ones that I would want in, probably, I think probably 10%, 20%.
No, that's fair. I mean, I just trying to put you on the spot because, I feel the same way because our system's more mature. So we're gonna want somebody that comes in and makes us better.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Someone that's going to look and say, oh, you can do this or you can do that. Have you considered this? And, if they're doing the checkbox, I think a lot of them would just look at, no findings and
Yeah.
probably not having that much for that many recommendations. But there are
Yeah,
people out there. I mean,
yeah. We want the ones that are going to dig a little bit. I mean, I do,
yeah,
as nervous as I get before every audit, even when Dilip came in and Craig and, we had Jack Ferris for A2LA, we had Luke
that
Hards
one
for
was rough for
NAVLAT.
you because that's a friend coming in.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
and I know that they know that I want the best, right? I want you to
Yep.
tell me how I can make
Yep.
this better, or I want you to show me what we're doing wrong, and that way I can fix it and make it better. And so, I trust that all of them that they did that, and they did, definitely they had findings. We got better, and they showed me ways to handle it that I may have not ever seen before or knew. Um, so I greatly appreciate those guys that we've already had. And I like I said, there's plenty other ones that I would definitely invite in. And I don't know if anybody is listening that doesn't know, but you can request certain auditors. So if you have someone that you've heard or in the industry that is going, you think is going to be good set for you, ask for them. Ask your
Yep.
ACO if you can have them.
Yeah, because the good ones are just going to make you better.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could request like that. That's awesome.
You can, and you
Mhm.
can also deny people for conflict of interest. You can deny
Yeah.
people for other reasons.
Well, the
Right.
ones that ask the hard questions that, we've been fortunate in that in the past, none of those questions have came up being problems, but that, make you dig and really, look at yourself a little more closely. That can be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how far do you take the system? Because it is, you are running a for-profit business, and then it's always like, how do we keep getting better? And our attitude is always, positive customer experience, raise the standard. Those things are always going to are things we want to focus on.
Right.
So we might neglect certain other things, right? That what was the one, Ashley, that we did get the ding on? That was like one of those little things that we should have caught. The date, was it a date calibrate? I know before one of the ones that we got the ding on was
It was
calibration date and the date it was actually signed.
Oh, date
not
of
having both
issue. Yeah,
date of
that was
issue
a
and date
new
of
that was a
signing.
new a
Yeah.
new one that came in 2017 that kind of got everybody was that date of issue, right? Data calibration, date of issue
Date
for the
of issue.
report.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Having both on. Yep.
One of the ones that we got more recently that I was like, dang it, is cal intervals. So,
Oh, yeah.
we always, we have, like I said, our system is very mature. But we kind of, it's like a grandfathered in thing, right? How did we ever establish the cal intervals? Like we never
Yeah.
had it written down. It's just something we did, right? So,
Yeah.
so now, we were like, oh crap. So we fixed it, we have it, and now, it's there. So
Yeah. We always did everything. I mean, we looked at everything, but it wasn't the problem is it wasn't documented.
It's the
That's right.
documentation. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
all
because if
like
you had a
language and
failure,
documentation. Yeah.
you had a failure, you go in the background, and now you can use AI for your failures and everything else. You can plot control chart. I was just doing that this morning. You can plot control charts. You can throw everything in. You can do all kinds of statistical analysis. You do it all. You just wouldn't document it. You do it all,
Yeah.
and then you'd write a summary, which you would document the summary, but you wouldn't document the 3-4 hours of data crunching and analysis you did. You record a paragraph that basically says,
Right.
look, you did everything. Yeah. And that's not enough. I don't think you need to write the storybook on the 4 hours of work you did, but you need to have a process and you need to have a way to handle it. And that's where I think Jack saw that, and we got better with that on
Oh yeah.
on
But
evaluating the risk.
It's one of those things where you're like, oh, how did we not? But
Yeah.
again, it's you think it's there, you think you're good, and then you realize it's not. And so that's why you need those fresh eyes. That's why you need different assessors, not just the same one. And
well, even if you're doing internal audits, because if you're doing it, I mean, we're following it. It's just that lack of documentation. The one we got with the new pick one was verifying all of our vendors do not have 2 consecutive virtual audits.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the 2 audits within 48 months or whatever. I have to have
Yeah,
an on-site assessment within 48 months. Yeah.
yeah, that was one that we had a finding on too.
Oh,
So
was that temporary or does that one still stand?
It
it's still
still
standing.
stands, even though it's silly and shouldn't. But
Yeah,
in
that's our
the
opinion.
in the new pick NRC world,
In case
yeah, that is
anyone
our
was
wait,
wondering
yeah,
how
let me
we really
preface this by
feel.
saying that's our opinion. But it only because it was put into place and it was activated because of COVID.
Right.
Right? That's why it became a thing. And so now
Yep.
that we're like, hey, listen, half the people we don't even have quarantine anymore. Um, it's treated just like a cold or the flu. Now we're like, why does this still exist?
Right.
But I know
And
that
it's
New Pick and NRC they move slower. And not that they move slower, but they just have so many reg that they have to go through different
yep.
levels that it's not a quick change. Nothing is a quick change for them. So, will it change? I hope. But for now, it's something that we have to meet, and we have to. I have to go to the vendors or suppliers and say, hey, you have to tell me when the last on-site assessment was.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and there's not an easy way to do that if people are out there. You really have to email or call the suppliers. And then the question becomes, well, so we missed it, and it wasn't really that big of a deal that we missed it, but it's the why did we miss it? Like, how did we miss it? Where did we not keep? Where did we not compare the records? There's so much stuff running a lab, and I don't want to shortchange any of this as we wrap up. Though the first thing you want is, I think for us, is that data integrity. We want to make sure all the data is good and what it is. I mean, that's taking the majority of the
That's
energy.
everything, yeah.
Is everything, and then these other things kind of fall away a little bit. And right or wrong, it's how it is. We want good data. We also want a good quality system and everything else, but the data is at least in my mind is the biggest thing that someone's paying us for, right? They're paying us for the system, they're paying for everything else, but what do they really want? They want a certificate that they can count on, right? And if we didn't do that vendor audit, but why didn't we do that? What else are we missing? Are we missing anything else? So that leads down to that trail. But there's a lot there. There's a lot of good with audits.
Yeah.
So internal audits, paying somebody to come in and do them.
Well, getting that good data. I mean, I don't want to make it cheesy again, but getting the good data and doing the right things and having the better systems is why I'm grateful for Ashley being on board, because she's helped so much with all those things.
Oh, well, thank you. I try. I definitely am not. I'm not. I'm not Dilip over here and the queen of quality, but I definitely try to make it right, learn more, every day, learn something new, and listen to the best. I try to sit in on meetings and webinars, and safety is new to me, so I've been hanging out with OSHA a little bit on these webinars to try to learn something. But
they're good.
That's how she has a good time hanging out with OSHA.
That's what she does. That's what in her spare time she hangs out.
Friday nights.
So if you're a member of OSHA and want to hang out with Ashley, how do they get in touch with you?
Oh, I have plenty of questions. Don't you worry.
What times are you looking for? What's your best time?
I do like that auditor independence. So even though NewPick, I shouldn't say NewPick, it's an NRC requirement.
Right.
And as much as it's annoying a little bit, because we have to get that outside person to do that audit for us, or an internal audit for us. It's nice because it is a fresh set of eyes, and it's not me trying to audit my own stuff, right? 70025 really doesn't talk about auditor independence. So that little bit of extra requirement does help us, I think. So
well, and NewPick's writing their guidelines for that industry. 17025, we know people that sit on the board and everything else. They're trying to encapsulate everything, like from a one-person lab to a gargantuan lab that's buying everybody and whatnot. So, well, it's thrilled for the discussion that we had here. Hopefully, there's some takeaways for the people that tuned in.